Hey guys, it is Aoife from Friendly Seated Laughing, and I'm here to do a video that won a Twitter poll a couple of weeks ago because I was trying to decide what videos to do because I kind of have a backlog of ones I want to do and I just need to do them basically. So this is popular books I didn't like and I actually have a good list. I wasn't sure how many I would have, but I do actually have a good list of popular books that I didn't like. I'm going to get into those now. The first book is actually Looking for Alaska by John Green, which I do have a physical copy of and I cannot find it anywhere. I don't know where I put it. But this is John Green's first, I think it's his first novel, and it is one of his most popular. And I just really didn't like it because I think my first novel of John Green's was Paper Towns, and then after Paper Towns I think it was The Fault in Our Stars, and then An Abundance of Catherines, and then I have read also Turtles All the Way Down, and I still haven't read Will Grayson, which I do have, I just have not gotten around to it. So I have read a majority of John Green's works, and Looking for Alaska is definitely my least favourite. I just really didn't like the characters, I didn't like the storyline, I really didn't like Alaska as a character. I know, she's like the manic pixie dream girl, and she's kind of like one of the ultimate manic pixie dream girls. I think one of the first ones to really coin the phrase. But yeah, even like, I don't know, I just really didn't like her, and I just kind of felt like I was rolling my eyes throughout the entire book. I didn't think she was a nice person, I didn't like what she did, I didn't like what she did to other people, and yeah, I just really didn't enjoy this one. I was quite surprised because I really thought I would. Next popular book I did not like is The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. This is one that's super popular. This is like a YA retelling of 1001 Nights, and it's about this young girl who becomes the new bride of this kind of king, and the whole thing is that he marries a different woman every day because by nightfall he has killed each woman, and she's trying to get revenge because her best friend had married him and he had killed her, and now she is ready to get revenge, so she marries him to basically kill him before he can kill her. And I don't know, there's just something about this book, the way the writing was, it's quite flowery, the writing, and I like flowery writing sometimes, not all the time. This case it didn't work for me. Really didn't like the romance that happened. I just thought it was really kind of nonsensical and really quick and just didn't do anything for me. There were some side plots happening that again just like didn't do anything for me. Then there was kind of like this magical element brought in that was like not really explained very well, and kind of like the book ended before it could be explained very well, and yeah, it just left me not wanting to pick up the next one. Another book I read quite a long time ago, so I don't really have a proper detailed review of why I didn't like it, but it's actually Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safron Foer, and I actually don't think this has anything to do with this particular book. You know, I didn't like the book, but I also just think it's to do with Jonathan Safron Foer's writing, because I don't think his writing just agrees with me, because I did listen to Here I Am by him last year on audiobook, and I also really didn't get along with that one either. I think I gave that one a 1 star too. So yeah, his writing just doesn't do anything for me. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, it's about a young boy who I think is on the autism spectrum. I think it's been, since then people have kind of said he may be a little bit autistic, or could have like something like Asperger's, and basically his father died in the 9/11, and I think he finds a key or something that belonged to his dad, and he's trying to figure out what the key is for. I think that's what it is from what I remember. And then there's also a thing with his granddad, and him and his granddad are kind of trying to figure out what is going on basically, and the book just didn't do anything for me. And to be honest, neither did the film, because I remember when I read the book it was because I had seen the film was going to come out and Tom Hanks is in the film, and I love Tom Hanks, so I was like, oh, I have to read this book. I think my boyfriend at the time actually, he bought it for me as a present, and I ended up hating it, and I was like, oh god. So I felt really bad for like not liking the book because he'd gone out and bought it for me. But yeah, this book just didn't get on with me at all, and as I said, I think it's just the way Jonathan Safron Foer writes. Whatever way he writes characters, they're always just that little bit despicable, but not despicable in a way that you kind of hate to like them or you like to hate them, but like, I don't know, there's just whatever way he writes human beings I just don't like at all. So yeah. The next popular book I didn't like is actually a classic, and it's the only classic on the list, and it is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. You guys know, like last year when one of the Tome Trapples was on, I decided to read this, and then it literally took me like 6 months to decide that I didn't want to finish it. It took me a very long time, and I actually found this impossible to read. I actually started listening to it on audiobook because it was the only way I could really like make my way through it. And as you can see, like I got more than halfway through, and I think I got a little bit further even than this, and it was just more that, like, I wasn't like listening to it at one point and I was just like, no, that's it. It was more that, it's just more that I never had the desire to pick it up, and eventually I was just like, what's the point? I'm not enjoying this book. I know it's probably going to be a 2 out of 5 stars. I more or less know how it ends, because it's a classic, and sometimes you end up just like knowing these things about classics before you read them. And yeah, it was just, I just really hated every single character in this book. The only characters I liked were Lennon and Kitty, who were kind of this other kind of side characters who have a bit of a romance. And they kind of started to annoy me a little bit at the end as well. But by the time I DNF'd it, I should say. But I really didn't like Anna Karenina. I really didn't like Anna Karenina. Vronsky, like, the two of them are just so despicable together, and I just hate them together so much. And like, not even that I hate them together so much, I just hate them as separate people. Like, they're both just selfish, horrible, disgusting people, and I just really didn't like them at all. Number 5 is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and this is one that so many people love, and like, it's a short little novel. It's a novel that you can read basically in one sitting because it's quite short, and it's basically about these teenagers who all are like, I think they're all like, their granddad or something owns this island, and they all like summer on this island because they're all like these rich privileged kids who are like, have their whole, like, their own island to basically live on during the summer. And all we basically know is we're kind of almost being told the story in like backwards. All we know is that something really terrible did happen on this island, but we just don't know exactly what happened, and we're being told it through, I think, one POV of one girl, and we're slowly kind of figuring out what happens. And there's like, there's supposed to be this like big plot twist thing that happens, and like, I didn't guess the plot twist, but when the plot twist happened I was just kind of like, oh, okay, like, that's that, I guess. I just didn't really enjoy the writing. I didn't enjoy the characters. I think at the time what I said is like, it's basically just a story about horrible people doing horrible things, and some people do enjoy those stories, but for me with this one I just really didn't like it. The Bone Clocks is another one where I think it's not just to do with the book, but it's also to do with the author's writing. I haven't read anything else by David Mitchell, but after reading The Bone Clocks I kind of made a vow to myself to never read another one of his books again, because just the way it was written, I just knew this wouldn't be, that the Bone Clocks wouldn't be a one-off. I knew I would probably struggle with all of his writing. And the Bone Clocks, oh god, I don't even know if I can explain what the Bone Clocks is about, to be quite honest. Go look it on Goodreads. But it was just so complicated and so weird, and just like, it was really one that you really have to like suspend your belief. Like, there is like, it's like kind of a science fiction-y time travel-y thing. Is it time travel? I can't even remember anymore. I've kind of blocked it out of my head, to be honest. It's just one I just really didn't get along with, and it's one I was just reading. I think I said recently in a video where I'd been buddy reading it, and my buddy actually really enjoyed it, but I don't think I would have actually finished it if I had been reading it on my own. I probably would have DNF'd it because I just really didn't enjoy the writing. I don't know how many stars I gave it. I think it might have been a 2 out of 5 stars, but it was just that little bit too weird, and I wouldn't even say whimsical. I don't even think it's whimsical. It's just too speculative, maybe. Speculative fiction? I don't know whether that is what it is, but maybe that's what it is. I don't know, I didn't like it. Number 7 is The Sin Eater's Daughter by Melinda Salisbury. I actually did have a physical copy of this book, and I gave it away like as soon as I finished it because I was like, well, this is shit. Not going to read this again. And it's actually a pity because the covers of these books are absolutely divine. They are beautiful. And part of me kind of wanted to keep the book for its cover, but I knew I would never read it again, so it was just a waste. This is a YA fantasy book, and it's basically about this girl who is kept in this castle, and they say basically she's a sin eater. She can eat sins, and as far as she knows, she is it kind of appears that she is poisonous as well. Like, poison seems to like run through her veins, and she's able to poison people like simply by touching them. And it's kind of like really scary for her, and people kind of really avoid her. And she's supposed to be this, her mother was like this sin eater, and it's kind of this weird kind of religious tradition in this world where there's this person who eats sins of dead people, and they eat these sins through these particular kind of feasts, and I think the food represents whatever food is at the feast represents particular people's sins, and it's actually really, really interesting. So the whole thing about sin eaters is so interesting, but this book isn't actually anything to do about sin eating. It's to do with the girl who we're following, and she just happens to be a sin eater's daughter. So we're just getting on these glimpses of what sin eating is, and I was like, well, I'd actually prefer this to be about a girl who might be, I don't know, an apprentice to a sin eater and is learning how to eat all these sins. Like, that would be so much more interesting than what we got, which is just this kind of sad little girl who is afraid of touching anyone in case she kills them, and then she ends up getting this, like, I think a soldier or something looking after her, who falls in love with her, and then she kind of starts falling in love with the prince as well. So there's like a weird love triangle, and it's just all so forced and so typical and so predictive, I guess, that it was just so boring, and the writing just wasn't very good. It didn't really grip me, so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be reading the sequel. One book I thought I would love, like if I had done a 5-star TBR predictions video, this would have been on it, and that was The Art of Racing the Rain by Garth Stein, which is a book about basically narrated by a dog called Enzo, and he's basically narrating what his life is like with his family and stuff his family is going through and his owners, and he's just making all these observations about what is going on in the family. And like, I genuinely did think I would like this because I've loved other books that are similar to it, like A Dog's Purpose by W. Bruce Cameron. I really, really enjoyed that, but I just hated the way Enzo was written as a dog. I just really, really didn't like it. He was just too... He sounded too human for me. Like, he cursed and he used specific words, and he used to say all these kinds of... He sometimes make these observations about people that actually made me feel really uncomfortable, and I really didn't enjoy them. And I just thought that he was too... Basically, he lost the innocence that I thought all dogs... that I think dogs probably have. I feel like dogs are quite pure, innocent souls, and Enzo didn't feel like that to me. He felt... I don't know, there was just something about his voice that really just kind of disgusted me a bit, and so I was really disappointed with this book. I really didn't enjoy it at all. Another book that I was really disappointed in is The Crown by Kiera, which is the second book, I guess, in the Heir and the Crown duology, but is the final book in the Selection series. So this is like a spin-off of the Selection, and it follows like, it's like 20 years later, and it follows like this princess as she does her selection. So instead of having, you know, a prince and trying to select his next queen, we'll have a princess who's selecting her king. So yeah, I just really didn't like who she ended up with, and even though I kind of knew, like, in the air, I knew who she was going to end up with, I could see what was going to happen, but I allowed myself to hope that it wasn't going to happen. And then it did happen, and I was just really sad about it because I was like, no, like, that is not who I ship at all. And I just felt like it was just one of these, I don't know, I was just so disappointed by it. Like, the writing itself is fine. I didn't have a big problem with Evelyn the way a lot of other people do. They all think that she's spoiled and she's a brat and whatever, but I'm like, yeah, well, she's a princess and she's grown up in luxury, so she probably will be a bit spoiled and will be bratty. And, you know, I do think she does have some character development in it, which is great. She just didn't pick the right guy. She just really didn't pick the right guy, so I was so disappointed. Yeah. The last book I want to talk about is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom, which is obviously a very, very popular one. And this is just, for me, like, I just kept hearing about how creepy this book was, and it was a little bit like horror-esque, and, you know, it was this YA book, and it had all these pictures, and it was cool, and, like, I think the pictures of it were cool, but, like, the pictures that are in the physical copies, they're fine. They are, like, pretty creepy, but, like, the story itself isn't that creepy, and I actually just didn't really like the main character, and I thought the love romantic relationship in it was really, really odd, because the girl he's kind of has this romance with had a thing with his granddad as well, because there's this whole thing of, like, the kids don't age, and a long time ago she knew his granddad, so I just thought that was kind of creepy and weird and disgusting. So yeah, I just didn't really like that, and it just didn't really, like, interest me. I didn't, like, to be honest, I actually read all three of them, and all three of them were, like, middle of the road for me. My favourite one, I don't know if my favourite one was the second one or the third one. The first one was just real, like, I think I expected it to be so much more than it was, and because I'd read the first one, it kind of, my expectations were lowered way low for the second and third one then, so it was fine. I actually really enjoyed the movie version of it though. I thought the movie version of it was done really, really well. So yeah, I actually probably prefer the movie to the book in this case. So yeah, so let me know popular books that you don't like, if you disagree or agree with any of my opinions on these books, and I'll see you guys again next time.